Today, we're going to see if a 40-year-old wine is still sound. It's from the classic Lindemans range. I'm Jason.
And I'm Trent, and we're here on an unapologetically unprofessional, unfiltered wine journey. We're saying here, Jace.
Our saying is drink more, try more, learn more. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. What's been on your mind, Trent?
What's been on my mind? It's related to today's episode where we're trying a 40-year-old wine. So I've got two thoughts of the week that's kind of related to each other. One being, how can you tell if a wine is over? And two is, can we trust drinking windows?
Yeah, good questions.
So drinking windows aren't the windows that you see on a building, but drinking windows when they say, oh, you should drink this wine between 2025 and 2030. So I delve into drinking windows first.
Just in case a lot of people get those two confused. Yeah, thank you.
So Wine Spectator says drinking windows gives an indication when a wine is likely to be at its peak for drinking. Opening a bottle at the right age will mean the tannic structure of the wine has softened whilst maintaining its freshness and concentration of fruit. So doing a bit of reading, but also what was really useful is watching Constantine Baum, where he actually did an experiment where he took like 6 wines, all at the end of their drinking window or over the drinking window, and started to try them and say, were they in fact over the drinking window or not? So in conclusion, basically, we often get the ideal drinking windows from wine experts or the wine critics and tend to err on the side of conservative side.
Yeah.
So that if it's still can last past 2025, they tend to say like 2024, 2023.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Makes sense, right? Because you don't want people to wait for that past into that drinking window and it's already past its prime.
Yep.
Second thing was that it gets more confusing because different publications have different drinking windows. So who do you trust? Who do you believe? And you just take an average out of all of them. So that's confusing. And then the other one, the last factor is around how the wine is stored.
Yeah.
So with all this in mind, basically, generally what I heard is that, with a good wine, it's good when it's young, but it's also good when it's old. A bit like you, Jace. You were good when you were young and you're also good when you're old as well.
That's what my life says, yep.
But the best piece of advice that I've kind of come to is probably just get a case of it, right? You can drink it young. You can drink it at its prime.
You got heaps of options, yeah.
You keep it drinking through, right? And just see the evolution of the wine. So there you go. Forget drinking windows. Just buy a case and just keep on drinking right through. Then you see the evolution of the wine. What are your thoughts on drinking windows, Jace?
It reminds me of what Mr. Mark Malouf told us the other day. And he's like, the winemaker knows exactly what it is about the wine. So if you're getting different views on what the drinking window should be, just go by what the winemaker says. You think that should be right.
Why don't they have a best before?
Yeah, that's true. Well, not all of the labels have the drinking window on there, actually. No, you got to go to the side.
Yeah,
why is that?
I don't know. Very rarely do they have that one. Next one. How can you tell if a wine is over?
Yeah.
So there's probably 3 things that we talk about. One is appearance. First appearance, red wines may develop a brownish hue, which I can see a brownish hue at the moment. That indicates oxidation, and that is flat and past its prime. It shows cloudiness, which is spoilage, which I think I see as well. And the last one, which I don't see, which is good, bubbles. It's gone through second fermentation, and the wine has soured. Second thing that you'll notice is smell. Vinegar, sharp sour notes.
Yeah.
And last one, which I don't want to do, is taste. It's flat or dull, lost acidity, liveliness. It's a bit like flat Coke, I guess, but it's also lost its fruit as well. So those are 3 things: appearance, smell, and taste that you notice. But what I'm interested to see is what are some of your stories about wines that you had that's been past its prime? What are your thoughts?
I've been thinking about a few different things. I've been thinking about regret this week. Do you have many regrets in your life?
No. No regrets.
There's only one regret I have, and that's buying that bloody small wine fridge that I've got. Bloody hell. About a year ago, I bought the wine fridge. I copied you, actually. I saw you had a good wine fridge there, and I bought the shorter wine fridge. It was a 35-bottle Vintec single zone wine fridge. Yeah. And I was so happy at the time I bought it. One, because it was sales and I'm very tight. So I got it for a good price. But also, who we're starting this wine journey, we need to put those babies in somewhere that can protect them and, maybe last the 40 years. So it ticked all the boxes. I was so happy with it that I've been telling my family that it's actually my fourth child, right? I call the wine fridge Winey, and I asked the three siblings to Winey to refer to it as another child. That's how much I was in love with this wine fridge. But 12 months down the track, I'm not so in love with it anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Regret.
Are you still talking about the wine fridge or the kids?
Kids great.
Yeah.
Kids are fantastic. Winey, I don't want him to listen to this podcast because...
Too much whining?
Because he's too short is the bloody problem.
Yeah.
1 year on, I can't fit many bottles into this 35-bottle wine fridge. We've got more wine in the house outside of the wine fridge than there actually is in the wine fridge.
But is being short a bad thing, though?
Being short's fine, but if you're not protecting the wine, that's the issue.
Okay.
That's a problem. And so that's what I wanted to talk about, regrets. Yeah. And I do not want anyone else out there to have the same regret. If you go onto our website, thewinedup.com.au, you'll find an article there about comparing different wine fridges. It was the different brands and the different kind of components that you can have in there. And some recommendations on why we went with this particular Vintech brand. What it doesn't have is discussion around size.
Yeah.
And I'm going to change that because I do not want anyone to have the same regret that I have. If you're going to buy a wine fridge, don't go short. Don't be tight about it. Don't have this 35-bottle wine fridge because if you're that serious about it and you're going to make a commitment to buy a wine fridge, you're probably going to buy more wine.
I think it depends on your constraints. So like for me, little inner west type of house, I can't fit a big wine fridge, so I had to go for the small one.
Yeah.
But then I opted for also having, off-site wine storage as well. Yep. So really the wine fridge is the wine that you want to be drinking.
Yeah. You did have your off-site storage even before that, right? So it's a different scenario. Yeah. And if you've don't have that volume of wine to go into the offside storage, I don't think offside storage suits everyone. So it does depend on your constraints. And yes, there are physical constraints around there. But if you've got the space, don't have regret, right, me. Buy the tall wine fridge, buy it out from the outset. That's the way to go.
Actually, what I would love is like a custom underground cellar. I've seen some of the ones on Instagram. You can walk down, like you lift up the floor, like James Bond style. Yeah. You walk down into the cellar, and then you have like your wines there. That's my ideal. That's the best.
I think that
no regrets.
I think that is the ultimate. I'd be regretting the amount of money I poured into that. But if money wasn't an issue, I'd be doing that. So that's my thought of the week. If you're going to buy a wine fridge, get a tall one from the start. I love you, Winey. I hope you don't listen to this episode. But on to today's topic.
Today's topic, we're talking about Lindemans. And when I say Lindemans, what does that kind of evoke to you, though, Jace? Started by Dr. Henry Lindeman in 1843. The first Lindeman wines that ventured overseas was in 1858, which was a claret, which is like a Bordeaux style of blend called the Lindemans cawarra. But since over 100 years now, it's kind of grown and grown. It's been like one of the best known wines across the globe. Come 1980s, Lindemans was well known for some iconic wines, one being the Lindemans Bin 65 Chardonnay. But the other one that I remember is when we were speaking to Chris Tyrrell.
Yep.
And we asked him the rapid fire questions and it was, what's the wine you still want to try? And it says that a good bottle of the 1970 Lindeman Chablis. So obviously it has a special place in the Hunter and probably has a special place within the Australian wine industry as well. Just as a fun fact as well for Lindemans, 1956, it was the official wine of the Melbourne Olympic Games. And then in 2000, it was the official wine, not for Australia, but for Canada and British Olympic teams. So obviously it's still there, it's still in touch with sport and still has those roots in terms of being iconic wine as well. Expanding into Coonawarra, which is the wines we're going to have today. Started in Hunter, went to Coonawarra, 1965 to 68, purchased vineyards there. The Lindeman stgeorge Cabernet Sauvignon, which we're going to try today, is part of what they call a trio. And the trio there is 3 wines that they planted along the Terra Rossa soil along Coonawarra. So the big names are there, the Winds, etc. like that. But the 3 trio wines is the stgeorge Cabernet Sauvignon, which we're going to have today. The Limestone Ridge Shiraz Cabernet, and then the Pyrus Cabernet blend. Have you had any of them?
Never. No.
I think I've had the Pyrus before, but not any of these others. 1981, Lindemans, the St. George Coonawarra start to build on its brand and also its quality, and also won the Jimmy Watson Trophy for its 1980 Lindeman St. George Cabernet Sauvignon at the Melbourne Wine Show. So obviously has pedigree there in terms of providing quality since then. But the one that we're going to try today is this St. George Vineyard Coonawarra. Vines first planted in 1969 with 12 hectares on Cabernet Sauvignon, with the first release being in 1973. We're going to try two wines today, one from 1985 and one from 2021. Just show it here to the camera. This is a 1985 Lindeman St. George. And then fast forward this to the 2021 Lindeman St. George Vineyard. So for the 1985, this was from my Uncle Des that was in my grandpa's cellar. Again, sometimes things get lost and you find these kind of treasures. We're going to try this one today, this 1985, but we're also going to compare it to the 2021. I'm a bit apprehensive of this 1985. Back to the point we're talking about when wine's over.
Yeah.
Do you want to try that while I'm going to talk about?
Yeah, can we show it on the screen here? Because there were 2 out of the 3 things that you were saying was a challenge, and I don't know if you could see that, but it's quite brown in color.
Yeah.
Kind of matching the shirt that you have, the wind-up T-shirt.
You can even see the decanter as well.
Want to see the decanter? We'll hold it up to the decanter. If you can see the color there, that's not a typical color that we see. That brown. Well, I have seen that color before, but it's not in drinking wine. Yeah. So that was color was a challenge. I think. What was the other 2?
Brownish hue.
Yeah.
Smells like vinegar.
Yeah.
Might have bubbles. Cloudiness.
That was it. So,
and it'll taste flat as well. So I haven't tasted this. Jason's going to try it.
I'm going to try. Thanks for putting me first.
Jason's going to try it while I talk about what happened in 1985. 1985, Mikhail Gorbachev, so of the Soviet Union, became the leader of the Soviet Union in March. Back to the Future was released on July 3rd, so becoming the cultural phenomenon. I love Back to the Future. Madonna launched her first roadshow. Do you know what it is?
Like a Virgin?
Yes, the Virgin Tour.
Oh,
I'm a Madonna fan. The RMS Titanic was located for the first time on September 1st in 1985. This is pretty cool. The first .com domain was assigned in January 1985. And last one for the sports fans there, Boris Becker became the youngest man to win Wimbledon at age 17.
Wow.
Pretty epic year, 19. And also I think 1985 was also the year that Brendan the Wine Animal was born as well.
Big year.
Big year.
Well done. The world was a better place.
How's that wine?
You know what? It is quite interesting because the look of it, I thought, oh, maybe I'm going to spit this out. But there's never been, spit this out in disgust, but there's never been a wine, even if it's over, that I thought, oh, that's so repulsive, I need to spit it out. I actually think there's these kind of toffee coffee notes that come through out of it. The fruit isn't really there. But if you wait a bit, you'll get a bit of acidity still there. So there's components of it that it's around, but the fruit is probably the biggest thing that's not there. I can't taste much fruit, if anything at all.
Yeah, so there wasn't any specific tasting notes for 1985, but there were ones that are kind of like pieced together. And it talks about, if it was in 1985, it was elegant violet aromas, tight and firm palate, chocolate vanilla, oak notes, intense cassis and plum fruit flavors, all of which I'm not getting. I am getting that overly done kind of raisin notes, bit like a port, which basically
it reminds me of that.
Which basically shows that it's kind of over. You can tell the fruits kind of fell away as well.
Yeah, no.
And that kind of hint of vinegar as well coming in there on the palate.
That episode that we did with our good friend Nishant, where we had the port, and I'm trying to remember the age of it. But it reminds
1969.
1969. It kind of reminds me of that, but there's just no remnant of fruit at all.
Give Corkscrew to this. What do you think?
Can we give Corkscrew? I don't think it's fair to do so. I don't think it's sound. But also, I always think about a aged and overdone wine where I'm just absolutely gonna spit it out. Like, it's disgusting. It's not the case. It's just not wine the way it should be.
Yeah. So again, let us know what wines you've had that you've kept there for maybe a bit too long, that maybe has done well or hasn't done so well.
Send us some pictures. And we could tell, I remember when we were looking at this, the wine was kind of around this level on the bottle. So you could tell that there'd been some evaporation.
And also the brown as well. As I mentioned before, with old wine, it kind of deteriorates. And definitely tell why. Yeah. There's no fruit there anymore.
Yeah.
Right? And until that, it's gone off. It's the vinegar there. And then just the look of it just looks wrong, But then still good to taste a bit of, history.
A bit of Madonna in there. Yeah. Probably not a wine I'm going to have very often.
Okay, cool. That's great to try. Now I'm going to hark back to the future.
Yeah.
I'll be the professor. You be Marty McFly. You've got your robotic Reebok pumps to come on.
Press the button.
We're going to go forward into 2021. We're going to try this. 2021 St. George Vineyard Coonawarra Trio, courtesy of the great people at Bayfields up in the Northern Beach, has been running as a family-run business for 40 years. Thank you, Elkie, for this one.
And if you hold it up to the screen, this is probably what a wine that we're used to looks like. You can see the red elements in there and that red fruit. And to be honest, I haven't had a Lindmans in a very long time. And when I was tasting this, it felt very classical Cab Sav. What are you getting?
When you say classical, the other classical one that it kind of reminds me of? St. Hugo. It tastes like that kind of style, that kind of, what you expect is what you get type of thing. Like by St. Hugo, I think classic kind of Cabernet. This one, it's classic Cabernet.
Yep.
It's solid, but it's nothing too fancy or special or complex or anything. It's just Cabernet.
Yeah, there's not much complexity and layers to it, but what they put together blends right and it does the job. It represents what it's meant to be. It's kind of those dark and red fruits, a bit of spice in there. That touch of that green bell pepper isn't so prevalent in there. But it's not as powerful as other Cab Savs that I've had. So it's a unoffensive wine, I guess is the way to put it.
Yeah, just going to talk a bit about the wine itself. So 100% from St. George Vineyard in the Coonawarra, which is the Terra Rossa, which is going to be famed for creating great Cabernet. 10-ton open fermenters for up to 10 days, being pressed into French barrels for maturation. It should get notes of fleshy cassis fruit, dark chocolate with tobacco leaf nuances wrapped in chalky tannins. So the notes that I got when I tried it was powerful. It did have big tannins when I first kind of took it on, but those chocolate mocha notes really come through for this one.
Yeah, I agree with that. Once you said dark chocolate, that really shined through. But it's not a bad wine. It's not an offensive wine. I think it puts it together. If we think about Corkscrew ratings, I'd probably give that a 6 out of 10. There's nothing bad about it in any way. What about you?
I agree with you. 6 out of 10. I think a 5 has been average, and then just slightly. It's good. It's good. Yeah, not great. Good.
So great opportunity to try these wines. Thanks to your grandfather, you, Uncle Des, for sharing this. It's helped us kind of learn more about what happens when a wine ages. Also great to see a classic Lindemans.
Yeah, so I've probably got 2 questions for you guys. One is, share us your story when you've had a wine that's gone over, that's actually maybe hasn't been so good. And also, what's your favourite Lindemans wine?
As we like to say here, drink more, try more, learn more. Thanks all.